There's something honest about a Gatling gun. No guided munitions, no smart targeting, no surgical precision. Just an enormous rotating barrel pointed at a problem, spinning until the problem stops being a problem. The Orbital Gatling Barrage operates on that same philosophy. Fire enough shells, add enough speed, and let probability do the rest. It's one of the first stratagems you'll unlock. Level 2, 1500 requisition slips. Available before you've had any time to form real opinions about the war. And for many Helldivers, that's exactly where it stays. A beginner's tool, quietly retired once something more impressive comes along. That's a reasonable conclusion to reach. It's also, I'd argue, the wrong one.
Orbital barrage incoming. Stand clear.
What you're calling in when you throw that beacon is a masterclass in high-volume kinetic suppression. Deployed from a Class 6 series crewed interplanetary combat vessel in low orbit. It is designed to saturate a localized kill zone with overwhelming firepower, trading the sheer destructive power of a single heavy bomb for the relentless pressure of rapid-fire munitions. In the arsenal of a Helldiver, power is often measured by the size of the explosion. The 500 kilogram bomb, the precision strike, single defiant notes of destruction. But the Gatling Barrage is different. It is not a single note, it is a crescendo. It is an automated symphony of 23mm high explosive fire, delivered from more than a kilometer away with mathematical cruelty. To understand the Gatling Barrage, one must understand the geometry of the kill zone. The barrage operates on a 70-second recharge cycle, allowing for high-frequency deployment across a single operation. Once authorized, the ship's automated weapon systems fire a total of 60 high-explosive rounds in 4 distinct salvos. These rounds are calibrated to impact within a tight 7-meter diameter, creating a circle of death that makes it nearly impossible for infantry-sized targets to survive. The projectile itself, the 23mm heavy explosive, is a marvel of ballistic efficiency. Weighing in at 400 grams and traveling at a staggering 1,050 meters per second, it carries enough kinetic energy to ignore most atmospheric drag. This gives the projectile immense kinetic energy before the explosive payload even detonates. Upon impact, the physics get pretty complicated. On a direct hit, the shell possesses level 5 armor penetration. In tactical terms, anti-tank. It will punch through the thickest chitin and the reinforced steel of the automaton collective. Even at a steep angle, its heavy penetration remains, ensuring that the round bites into its target rather than glancing off into the dirt. But the kinetic impact is only half the story. Each round is fused to detonate on contact, creating a 1.5 meter inner radius of pure thermal pressure. This explosion deals 350 damage, matched by an equal amount of durable damage, meaning internal components and vital organs are shredded instantly. Beyond that core, a shockwave extends out to 6.5 meters. It won't always kill, but with a stagger force of 35, it doesn't have to. It pins the enemy in place, reeling from the overpressure, just in time for the next shell to arrive. With a 70-second cooldown and infinite uses, the Gatling Barrage is the ultimate tool of atmospheric suppression. It is reliable, it is relentless. That number is the beginning and end of the argument for the stratagem. In a game where your orbital 380mm barrage costs you nearly 3 minutes between uses, the Gatling asks for just over a minute. By the time the dust has settled and you've crossed to the next objective, it's nearly ready again. This is not a weapon of mass destruction. It won't crack a Bile Titan or crumple a Charger without some luck on its side. What it will do, reliably, repeatedly, and with almost contemptuous ease, is clear the field of everything else. Warriors, hive guards, devastators, caught in the open. The steady tide of medium enemies that, on hard and extreme, has a habit of making every engagement feel like you're slowly being buried alive. That's the use case, not the killing blow, the breathing room. There is a criticism of the stratagem that you'll encounter quickly if you spend any time in discussions. And usually, it's about enemies walking out of it. This is true. The barrage doesn't lock down an area the way napalm does. Its scatter pattern means a fast-moving target can, with some indignity, simply leave. One Helldiver described watching it trace a perfect circle around every enemy in the vicinity, Looney Tunes style, and I won't pretend that doesn't happen. But consider what you're asking it to do when that happens. You're asking a saturation barrage to perform precision work. That's not what it's for. Throw it into a breach, into a patrol moving through a choke point, into the chaos of an extract, and the calculus changes. Enemies walking into something are considerably less capable of walking out of it. The trick, such as it is leading your target. Not throwing it on top of a group, but slightly ahead of where they're going. This is a minor adjustment, and it makes a significant difference. What is less discussed is what the barrage does to the environment itself. The 23mm shells are not selective about what they strike. Fences, walls, light structures. The Gatling barrage removes them with the same indifference it applies to everything else. A patrol standing behind a low wall is not meaningfully safer than one standing in the open. More practically, a Helldiver who needs to move quickly through terrain can use the barrage to make a path. It will also destroy objectives. Illegal broadcast towers fall to it cleanly, bug holes can be collapsed, though not reliably. The random targeting patterns mean some salvos connect with enough rounds to seal one and others don't. Automaton fabricators require more precision. 12 rounds need to strike the target directly to bring one down. This is achievable. It is not guaranteed. The Gatling barrage is, in this respect, honest about what it is. A suppression tool that can do structural work when conditions allow, not a demolition instrument. 4 ship modules are relevant here. The first is targeting software upgrade, a bridge module that reduces your orbital call-in time by 1 second, from 3.05 to 2.05. The second, more guns, increases the damage of orbital stratagems. 0G breach loading reduces orbital cooldowns by 10%, 63 seconds, down from 70. And morale augmentation reduces all stratagem cooldowns by 5%. With all 4 modules installed, you are looking at a 2.05 second call-in and a 59.85 second cooldown. A stratagem that was already defined by its availability becomes, with this investment, almost frictionless. None of these modules are mandatory in isolation. Collectively, they transform the Gatling from a reliable tool into a persistent one. Against the Terminids, the Gatling barrage finds its natural habitat. A bug breach is a moment of pure entropic chaos, a collapse of order that can end a mission in seconds. But with a well-placed beacon, that chaos is met with density. When enemies are packed this tight, the Gatling scatter is no longer a liability, it is a mathematical certainty. In a crowded breach, every shell finds a home. Something is always in the way. Against the automatons, the calculation changes. The bot faction is a wall of cold, hardened steel, and the Gatling is, by design, a predator of soft tissue. Yet, fortune favors the bold, or the lucky. A direct impact remains a direct impact, and a bot drop caught in the open provides exactly the kind of target-rich environment this weapon craves. Against the Illuminate, the Gatling barrage undergoes a tactical evolution. The Squids are a faction defined by obfuscation, energy shields, teleportation, and mind-bending displacement. But high-frequency kinetic fire is a natural predator of the shield. Every 23mm shell that strikes a blue barrier forces a recalculation, draining the enemy's power reserves until the protection simply collapses. When the shields fall, the Illumina are fragile, exposed. They rely on movement to survive, but the Gatling barrage creates a zone where movement is impossible. With a stagger force of 35, the barrage doesn't just damage the enemy, it anchors them. It pins these masters of space-time to a single, lethal coordinate, turning a sophisticated threat into a stationary target. It's a low-tech solution to a high-tech problem. In a war of psychic subversion, there's something remarkably grounding about 60 rounds of high explosive. On hard or extreme deployments, the enemy composition is punishing, but not yet insurmountable. There is room here for a specialist, a tool that performs one task with singular focus, leaving the heavy lifting to your other stratagem slots. It is a specialist that recharges fast enough to masquerade as a generalist. Overall, the Gatling Barrage won't impress anyone, but there is one engagement where it does something that surprises most Helldivers who ever witness it. The Leviathan, a vast aquatic machine that surfaces during certain operations, a target that most stratagems chip away at over multiple deployments. With enough luck, can be brought down by your orbital barrage in a single call. The geometry matters. The angle of your destroyer's position, relative to the Leviathan, affects how many rounds connect. And a poor angle means a poor result. But under the right conditions, 60 rounds of anti-tank explosive fire, concentrated into 9 seconds, is, it turns out, sufficient. It is not the stratagem that you would design for that purpose. It is not the stratagem anyone would recommend for that purpose. And yet, the Gatling Barrage contains, quietly, more capability than it presents. Most of the time though, what you get, instead, is a 9-second window of silence. A patch of ground that simply stops producing threats. And then 70 seconds later, you get to do it again. Point it at the problem, let it spin. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's definitely different from the kind of content I usually make. But Helldivers is unique for me in that I don't min-max, and I don't play super high difficulties. But that didn't stop me from wanting to make guides about it though, so I decided to take a page out of Xbox Ahoy's old Titanfall guides and see what I could do. The result is, I think, a really fun combination of information, guide content, and lore. Let me know what you thought about it down in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe while you're on your way. For now though, I think that's it. I'll see you next time.